Hello Scrufftards, welcome back to the Warzone. I'm Scruffy and this is Scruffy Tales. And we'll be taking a look at the latest news from Ukraine dealing with Swedish tanks, Swedish artillery and Swedish infantry fighting vehicles. And we've lost two archers, so out of the 8, 6 remain. Both archers appears to have been hit in the rear in the gun and ammo department, so the crew should be all right. And when we watched these two videos, we learned that both archers were found while they were on the move. So the first archer was spotted as it was moving into position, and as it stopped to set up, that is when the Russians struck them. And the other archer, I believe, it was attacked while it was on the move. So clearly, the archers are vulnerable to loitering drones that are simply out looking for a target of opportunity. And in the last 24 hours, we learned that Russia has tried to snatch a Swedish STRV122, a heavily armored Leopard 2 version. And Russia released released footage of a drone hitting a Leopard 2, and then Ukraine in turn released videos of several drones hitting towing vehicles that tried to recover the Leopard. If these are the two same vehicles, I don't know, because if you take a look at the vehicle to the left that's being hit by drones, it's quite muddy. The turret is facing the other way compared to the tank that's being towed away and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if these are the same vehicles. If you take a look at the middle picture, you can see that the blowout panels for the ammunition storage in the turret have been blown out, which they have not on the video on the image to the left. But you know, that may be an additional hit later on, or whatever that causes the blowout panels to do their intended work as the ammo cooks off. So is it the same vehicle? I don't know. But what we do see in the Ukrainian footage is that Russia is relying on 2 recovery vehicles to try and bring an STRV122 back to Russian lines, and the Ukrainians hunt them down and take out the 2 towing vehicles. Not insignificant, because Russia has very few recovery vehicles. Very few indeed. The Western armies, they have few as a rule, but Russia has even less. So losing 2 recovery vehicles like this is a big blow to Russia. Bit unclear how far they got with the Swedish tank. It may be that the Russians just sent in ordinary tanks to pick it up later on, but they lost 2 important recovery vehicles trying to snatch the STRV-122. So yes, Ukraine lost an important vehicle, but Russia lost 2 very important vehicles as well, trying to steal the STRV-122 from the battlefield. And so where did all of this happen? Well, it is the 21st Mechanized that are defending Terny, and that is where we have a lot of the STRV-122s and CV-90s. And this is located, as you can see, this is the entire front line, and up here in this area we have this section, and it's down here that we have Terny. And as you can see, Russia has made some progress over the last couple of months into these valley systems. And I believe it is in this area where we saw the footage of that muddy STRV-122 getting hit by a drone. And I'll try and figure out where exactly in this area that was. And so yeah, Terny, Russian advances, and here we have a satellite image of the same area, Terny. As you can see here, the valley systems. So, yes, so we will be zooming in on where I think the muddy STRV122 was destroyed, or hit rather, by that drone. And here we go. Here we have up here. This is the footage where the drone is moving in on the STRV122 stationary here. And up here we have what appears to be forests, which I believe is this stretch of woods here. You have a windbreak or tree line that follows a road in a very distinct shape. And then you have an open patch in between, and as you can see here, there's a very distinct bend in the road close to the corner of the trees here. So I believe that this area here, marked with the green, is, as you can see down here, this area here. And to further illustrate my point, zoomed in a bit on that very area, we can see here, bend in the road. Right here we have the distinct shape with the tree line and the open space in between, right? So distinct shape, open area, bend, and big vast open farmland on both sides of this road, right? And like I pointed out before, in the distance a stretch of woods that appears to be at the end of open fields in that valley, right? So I think I've located the location of this tank. It should be here somewhere, and this is where the drone flies in and hits it. And as you can see, sorry, if it's located here, that would put it right here, and this area here is currently well in Russian control, or at least the valleys are in Russian control. So the Russian recovery vehicles have moved up, thinking they'll do that will be sneaky. They attach themselves to the STRV122 and have then been moving back this way. And somewhere along this road here is where the Ukrainian drones moved in and took care of the Russian recovery vehicles. It could be that they were simply waiting for this to happen, knowing that the Russians would more than likely try and grab an abandoned Western tank. So it could be that the Ukrainians were simply keeping an eye on it and waiting for Russian tanks or recovery vehicles to move in, and then they just went in and set the trap and destroyed those vehicles. Moving on to the CV90, and Ukrainian troops, they just continue to praise this vehicle. I don't think they have said anything bad about it at all. Well, maybe the magazine capacity, where you have 8 rounds stored in 3 magazines, so you have 24 rounds readily available at any one time. And they have said that it would be nice if they had more ammo ready to fire in for longer engagements and not having to stop to reload after only 24 rounds. So that's basically the only negative that they've ever said about this vehicle. But what they do consistently point out is that the CV90 is a reliable vehicle. It keeps the troops safe and it doesn't break down. You don't have to warm it up for an hour before it will function properly. All you need to do is warm it up for 5, 10, 15 minutes maybe, and then you're ready to go. Unlike with BMPs that you really have to warm up for 45 minutes, 60 minutes before you can drive off. And they point out how often they've been hit by drones, by artillery, and the vehicle can take the punishment. The armor holds and everyone inside is safe, and they can continue operations. Yes, they are shaken around when they do take direct hits, but very rarely does those hit result in penetration that will damage the vehicle or injure the crew or kill people. So it's a very reliable vehicle, and they return to this point that they can trust this vehicle to keep them alive. And they also mention that it is a smooth ride compared to other vehicles, even compared to other Western vehicles. You are not shaken around within the vehicle as it traverses terrain or going at speed over muddy, rocky roads and stuff like this. So they just keep praising the vehicle, not just for the very powerful gun, which is, you know, a subject all unto itself, but the vehicle, the construction, the design. Take away the gun, the vehicle itself on its own is, makes it one of the best vehicles available to Ukraine and one of the best vehicles in the war period. Now, what we've learned in one of the more recent interviews is that Ukraine has figured out how to rely on the CV90 and the Bofors gun for indirect fire, turning it into artillery, basically. And this is not anything they've learned in Sweden. This is something they figured out on their own, essentially doing the math. If we point the gun up into the air, how far will the ammunition fly, depending on velocity and gunpowder and what have you, and where will it drop down into the ground and detonate. So they can, relying on the CV90, reach out to roughly 7 kilometers and can, relying on that, use the CV90 for indirect fire against Russian positions. So if we take a look at this map, here we have 7 kilometers. That means that CV90s can be quite a ways away from the battle, safe on the far side of the river, and are still able to attack known stationary Russian positions as the Russians are trying to advance through these forested areas in the valleys. If you imagine if the Russians are funneled into these valleys where their only cover is available, then you can have CV90s at 7 kilometers away, just lobbing, relying on volley fire basically to land hits right on Russian positions as they're trying to push through these valleys. And of course, the Ukrainians do use the vehicle, the CV90, for its intended purpose, the thing it was designed for, and that is the assault. This is an assault vehicle. It's not a troop transport, it is an assault vehicle. It is meant to take troops all the way up to the enemy positions, and then they dismount on that location and immediately go into the fight. And they have explained this to us, and they have shown it to us in, I believe it is 1 or 2 videos so far. And what they tell us is that it's not uncommon for the CV90, its crew and dismounts, to be engaging enemies at a distance of 50 meters. And this is exactly what the vehicle was designed to do, to drive up to the enemy and dismount troops within 50 meters of the enemy location. So fighting at 50 meters, 50, 30, 40 meters is, basically according to Swedish doctrine from the 60s that resulted in the creation of the CV90. And Swedish tactics has been throughout the Cold War and into the modern era to utilize these vehicles to assault enemy positions directly. And as you can see on the images here, we have a CV90 that has driven up to Russian trenches, and it is covering the dismounts as they are then getting out of the vehicle and getting ready to assault into the Russian trenches. And so this is what the CV-90 was designed to do, and this is what the Ukrainians are using it for, as well as using it as an artillery piece from time to time. So what does Russia do to counter CV-90s? Well, according to the Ukrainians, as soon as the Russians realize that CV-90s are pushing up to be used in direct combat, the Russian response is to send in T-90s, their best tanks. So the Russians have such a respect for the CV-90. They are so afraid of the CV-90 that they are sending in the best armor they have, the most powerful guns they have to counter CV-90s. Because if they don't, they basically have nothing in their arsenal that can contend with them. Because if you bring in T-72s, CV-90s and the Bofors can actually engage T-72s with a fairly good chance of damaging and even destroying those tanks. So the Russians, in order to have an edge on a CV-90, an infantry fighting vehicle, they have to send in the very best kit that they have available. And that should tell you something about the CV-90, right? And as we all remember from Stepove, it took two Bradleys to take out a T-90, and the Russians are sending two T-90s to counter one CV-90. So, yeah, I find that a bit interesting. But so yeah, and the Russians, they have a tremendous amount of respect for the Swedish CV-90. And that's the end of the video. I will try and remember to provide all the links so that you can check out the interviews yourselves and check the videos out and all of that. So, but yeah, that's the end of it. And as always, gå på marsch, Ukraine, give them hell.